So we think
What's that?
about Bloomberg, who's now running for president, who's now saying that the stop and frisk thing, maybe he needs to rethink it, but then use prisoners to robocall for his campaign.
Which
Uh,
is so a few thoughts there, right? So first, let me just disclose that I actually worked for Mayor Bloomberg, for Mike Bloomberg, when he was mayor for a period of 6 years. 2 of those years, I worked in City Hall in a commissioner level post as the family services coordinator and actually did the groundwork that led to juvenile justice reforms, alternatives to detention, alternatives to placement, keeping children closer to home, young people closer to home when they were, alleged to have committed crimes that were not serious, violent, alleged serious violent felonies, bringing them closer to home and giving them the resources and supports that has actually resulted years out in hundreds of kids not being incarcerated and becoming part of the system, but getting the rehabilitative supports that they needed. That said, I think that, when it comes to Mike Bloomberg, one of the things that I saw, and I'm talking from my own personal experience, and I'm not saying that this is right or wrong. Um, Mike Bloomberg, as a leader, uh, would say to the people that he appointed as commissioners, and I was one of them, I'm entrusting you to do a great job. And he'd say, don't screw it up. To some, he'd say, don't F it up. And if he believed that you knew what you were doing, then he didn't get in your way. During his tenure, he had a commissioner, police commissioner, who was all into broken windows theory and this belief that stop and frisk was really making a difference. And even when the data was showing that crime was going down, but stop and frisk wasn't really like the key
mhm.
factor in it, Bloomberg didn't step away. And Bloomberg should have stepped away. I don't know if the point that I make in this long-winded story is, I don't know if part of his, like, how he would believe in you that I hired you to do a certain thing got in the way. But, big mistake. Big mistake. Now, I do it the flip, and the only thing that I'll say is that big mistake. There are some things that were done. Juvenile justice reform took off in New York City in ways that it was not taking off across the nation. Under Mike Bloomberg, 40,000 plus children were in foster care. When he came into office, he said, this is ridiculous. They were languishing and aging out of foster care. He put the emphasis on preventive services, keeping children at home with the safety and supports that were necessary, and brought the foster care census down below 10,000 and took the preventive services numbers up beyond 40,000. So there's some things that were
Would
done.
he make a good president?
I think that he is a strong leader. I think that he knows how to bring people around him who are capable of driving and leading. I believe that he's innovative. I think he's gotten a better handle on global issues and other cities' issues. He led in gun control. He continues to lead. He led the mayor's conference in gun control, climate change. But there also are some problems during his tenure.
Is there a perfect candidate? I
That
mean, like, listen.
Yeah.
I think what you have in Bloomberg is a leader. I think you have somebody who is he's he he's confident in his abilities and who he puts around him. That comes with challenges at times, but I do think that he knows how to lead
Yeah,
and solve problems.
the thing I always remember about Mayor Bloomberg, there's a few things while he was mayor, was one was during Sandy. And one of the things I remember, I think he went to City Island that got hit so hard during Sandy. And they were like, what advice do you have for the people that have, that had homes here? And he said,
Go to a hotel.
oh, yeah, and don't buy beachfront property. Don't buy property by the water. And I was like, oh boy, a lot of empathy coming from this guy. But what he also did was got the Army Corps of Engineers, within like 36 hours, pump the water out of the L train and the subway system faster than I ever could have imagined that happening. And so there are things that to have like a technocrat kind of leader in that sense who knows how to operate a system that is really good. The question is, when we have leaders, especially in the presidency, that really speak to the gut of America, that speak to the heart and the gut, is that something that he can do? And I'm not sure.
Well,
we
here's the
need
deal.
that?
You know that he under his leadership here in New York City, the Young Male Initiative to address the challenges that black men Black young boys and Black men were facing and experiencing, from over-policing to incarceration, disconnected from work and wages, education, what have you. He began that initiative here. It is the initiative that served as the impetus for Barack Obama to create My Brother's Keeper.
Mm-hmm.
And Barack Obama speaks to that, right? So, under Mayor Bloomberg, the Commission for Economic Opportunity to look at poverty in New York City and what policies and programs should be in place to address and overcome poverty. He created the CUNY College support program for Black and brown young persons, to get a leg up and go to school and receive a college education. So the point, I guess, that we all could sit here and make, there are some positives, some very good positives. What I see in Bloomberg is somebody who sees a problem and tries to figure out how to fix it, and not to do it in haste and and with waste.
Could he? So my job here for the next however long I'm going to sit here is to try to change how we communicate with one another. And when I played that Ari Lennox clip, what she was talking about in terms of how, what's freedom of speech and why is that the thing that we want to do? Like, we have to be more civil, more civilized, more mindful, more thoughtful. We have to read more. We have to care about the truth. We have to care about humanity. And these are things that I think that's our job as people who are raising children, not raising children, teaching, just being in a world where we have to challenge one another. I say all that to say there's going to come a time when there's going to be a debate, right, between what is currently this sack of crap that is occupying our government right now, and whomever we decide to select as the nominee for the Democratic Party. We're in such a reality TV world. Social media is reigning supreme. How does he stack up? Because he is so wooden and so dry and so boring and so corny. And even his Spanish, KTRO, it's just so, And
that's my point. Can he speak to the gut of America?
No, I don't think he can.
And if you even remember during President Obama's, presidency, the big critique of why are you not spiking the football? Why are you not speaking to the gut of America? Why are you not talking strongly about these issues? And it speaks to, again, every other candidate, and this is what America reacts to. Now, the question is, should we even buy into that? Should we go into that or try to
shouldn't.
So I guess what I would say to you is that I would look more, is he charismatic? No. Right? I mean, no, I'm just being honest, right?
Facts.
Is
Facts.
he right? Is he is he charming? Is he gonna woo you?
Yeah.
Is he the it guy? You may not see him that way, but what you will see is somebody who steps in and looks at is willing to take on big problems. What other mayor do we know has taken on gun control? What other mayor do we know has taken up climate change? What other person do we know has taken his own resources and gone around the nation looking at the problems in particular communities and even across this world and said, what can I do for the time I have left here, right? Now, I don't want to sound like people may hear me and say, okay, this is some ringing endorsement of Bloomberg. That's not my job here. What my job is to make sure we are informed, right? And we look at who's out there and what they've done, and we judge them on the whole record. Do I think that this is somebody, what I saw, this is a mayor, an individual who came in when New York City had just experienced the greatest devastation, that we thought imaginable, right? And he came in and he figured out how to rebuild the city and make people, right? So, we are now going through the greatest devastation that we could conceive of with this current president, this generation or these generations, right? This era in the nation. Maybe you need somebody who knows how to come in crisis and think systems and think big picture, who understands data. And not just rhetoric, not just talk. Thoughts?
I think we need to go back to what William Barber said as well, Dr. Reverend William Barber, that we have to demand the things that we want to get done before we give anyone a ringing endorsement. That said, can you get him on the show, Jennifer Jones?
We can get him on the show.
I'm really interested to see how he performs in the early states, because I think he could get out. When the voters start to voice their opinions in these early states especially, I think you'll see him get a lot more traction, because I think a lot of people will look at those kind of elements, his problem-solving elements. It's not until the later states where you get, I think, the more kind of like speak to the gut and the Super Tuesdays of the race.
Maybe he'll get that by then. But
Yeah.
yeah, let's bring him
We'll
in.
see. We'll see.
Let's
We'll
bring him
see.
out. You want me to call? I'll text him.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll text him.
She has the
Oh,
hookup,
you
not
want,
you.
I know.
don't know.
I could
don't think you have the
add
hookup.
him or something.
All right.